I want to let everybody know about our COVID relief fund. At this point, we've given $6.3 million to over 6,800 actors, performers, SAG-AFTRA members. So if you do need help, please go to the website for information and get help. And if you can help, of course, you know, we're really appreciative for all of your donations. I want to introduce Theo Park, like amazing casting director, Theo Park. Theo, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I didn't realize it with this many people. I'm slightly embarrassed.
But we're thrilled to have you with us. I think you have a reputation of just like a go-to comedy queen in London. How did you get this reputation?
God, I don't know. It's funny though that I sort of that's really cool, isn't that? Well, I sort of started in comedy. I worked in my 20s as a production assistant on some TV comedy shows, and I was always really interested in comedy. And then I became an agent, which wasn't so much fun. And then I got into casting, and yeah, because it was always something I'd been really, really interested in. I saw loads of stand-up. I still go to, apart from last year, obviously because of COVID, go to Edinburgh Festival every year, scouting. So I don't know, it just sort of evolved, really, my love of comedy. Yeah.
And so, you know, what advice do you have for people when they're reading comedy scripts, especially television comedy? Like, it's sometimes so specific. If it's single camera, you know, it's very, very specific timing. What advice do you give to actors who are auditioning for comedy?
Just to find the beats, and if they can't find them, create them somehow. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because sometimes writers, creators don't like you to improvise around the lines because it's their special baby, isn't it? What they've written. But I tend to like it if actors decide to give it a go in an audition, to sort of improvise and have a little fun with it, because then you're showing your comedy chops that way, aren't you?
Yeah. That's great. So yeah. Before we're going to get to Ted Lasso, which has just been like a huge global hit. It's really touched people's hearts in a way that I don't know whether or not was expected. Let's begin there. When you first read the script, you know, what was your first reaction when you first read Ted Lasso?
Well, I didn't read it for ages because it was sort of it's under lock and key, and I got the job first of all by having a very long Zoom with Jason Sudeikis, and he talked to me about it. He talked me through the setup and the characters, and then when I finally got the script, I just thought it was really well put together, and the characters were real. It was very sweet, but also it was really bloody funny. The dialogue just sort of zinged, and yeah, they're just really great scripts. They were really, really great scripts. Eventually, when I got to read them, yeah.
So I wonder with something like that, you know, there are a couple of different writer, producer, actors working on the show. Obviously, Jason's baby and Brent's baby, and you know, just watching the show, and I remember when I watched the first episode, I was just like, oh, what's the tone of this? Because there's so much heart and real, sincere, like drama-y stuff, as well as the comedy. I was just like, wait, where is this going? Am I allowed to laugh? And then you know, quickly I realized that it is sometimes ridiculously funny. Yeah. So when you're, you know, doing a pilot and you don't have anything else, you can't look back to see, how do you guide people with tone? And if someone's auditioning and you can see that they're really funny, but they're off, what kind of guidance do you give them to get them into the right space?
Well, I think it was probably a little bit different on Ted Lasso, because we did want people to be funny, but essentially we just wanted really good actors who understood the comedy. So yeah, it was different. It's interesting that you say, how did you know? I didn't. If I'm really honest, I read it and I thought, oh God, this is funny, but I wasn't sure how good it was going to be. I just didn't know. And now when you watch it, you think, gosh, it's got so much heart. And now I'm doing season 2. I'm right in the middle of casting season 2, and I know exactly the tone. I know exactly what we're doing because I've watched it, but I honestly I admit, and I wasn't entirely sure because it was brand new and I didn't know what it was going to be. I don't think any of us did until the finished version.
So I want to ask you about a couple of specific characters. You know, as an older woman, I have to say, I just love Hannah Waddingham. I just love that an actress like Hannah Waddingham was able to step into this role in this project. Can you talk about, you know, have you worked with her before, your relationship with her, and how the process of casting that role?
Yeah, well, she is so brilliant. I did actually cast her in a role just prior to Ted Lasso. She played hilariously. She played it's like kind of real housewife type in this MGM movie, The Hustle. We were so lucky to get her for a kind of a smallish role like that. But I always remember when I was working at Nina Gold's office, she came in for Scepter, her role in Game of Thrones, and she was 8 months pregnant, but it was fine because it wasn't shooting for another 6 months. But she came in and she just came in and she did her ident, and then she turned to the side and she just had this massive brush going, I'm just a little bit pregnant. And we obviously kept that in because gosh, she's so fabulous. And the Game of Thrones guys were like, it's gotta be her, she's amazing. And so yeah, it's funny because she's really got a proper sense of humor, but people may not have seen that, certainly not from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones role, because she's just so fabulous on stage as well. I don't know if everyone knows that she's a big sort of West End star. So she was very exciting, and to see she's doing so well. She's got nominations and stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well deserved. I've got to talk about Jeremy Swift. Just love him. You know, how did he, right? So great. So how did Jeremy get into the mix?
That role, Higgins, again, I saw like a real load of types, younger, older, more sort of stand-up comics, and then more people like Jeremy, who are just like really smart, great actors who can do comedy. And Jeremy just nailed it. He just nailed it. Yeah, it was great. It was really awesome. Great. Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned Nina Gold, and I don't know how many people know you. I don't know how many films you must have done with her at this point, 40, 50. I mean, it's a lot.
No, it's not that many, but I worked with her for a good few years. Yeah.
So can you tell us how that relationship started and how it's transformed over the years, and sort of what is your working relationship with Nina now?
Oh, well, I sort of, because I was an agent, I got to know her through being an agent, and we became quite friendly. And then when I quit being an agent and I was sort of having a bit of time out, I actually took a year out and became a snowboarding instructor. But then I thought, no, I do want to get into, I really do. I'd sort of dabbled in casting before. I'd worked at various offices before becoming an agent. And then I thought, I think I want to give it a proper crack. Who would I really want to work for in casting? And it was Nina. It was Nina and only Nina. So I sort of just phoned her up and said, oh, hello, I'm back from snowboarding. I don't suppose you need any help in your office. And I was just really lucky. She went, actually, do you know what? I'm a bit busy on a movie. Could you come and help me for 5 weeks? And then 5 weeks turned into like 7 years. So that it's honestly as simple as that. And that just makes me sound really bloody lucky. And actually I'm really bloody lucky to be able to count Nina as my mentor and first proper person in casting to work with, and also a friend. Yeah, we're very friendly as well. So yeah, it was luck. It was pure luck. Yeah.
But you still work together, correct? There are still projects that you share. Is that
no? Oh no. We don't work together anymore, sadly.
Okay, but you're still great friends. So one thing that I know about Nina's office is that, and I think most actors in London know about her office, is that she works out of her home. So immediately when you go there,
not anymore.
Not anymore?
She's got an office.
That's amazing. Here's news for everybody. I just used to think that was like such a warm family feeling, that as soon as you went to audition for her, it was like you were being brought in.
I think it still is. I think it still very, very much is, yeah. But
so
she had
I'm sure that you are exactly the same, because that's where you come from. How do you create that feeling that makes actors, it's so important to be relaxed when you're auditioning. And I think that sort of environment is so important when you're bringing actors in. What do you do to create that environment for actors?
I think it's probably one of the only things I'm good at, is just making people feel comfortable. I like a bit of a chat, friendly, smiley, and I think it's really important for all casting directors to be on the side of the actor. The reason we're getting you in the door is because we want you to have a shot at getting this part. So, let's just help each other to try and get the best out of this tape, which is what I'm really missing at the moment, because it's all just self-tapes, and we do the odd Zoom, but the quality, when you tape a Zoom, the quality's not so good, so you end up saying, do you mind just taping it with a friend at home? And I am missing that, because I think that dialogue with the actor to try and get the best out of them for that particular scene, we just don't have it at the moment. Trying, but it's hard, it's difficult with COVID, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm wondering, things, obviously the system has been different over the last year, but I wonder if you've had time to reflect upon, what have been the silver linings? What have been the good things about the technical aspects for you of auditioning people online? Are there silver linings that have come out of the way the process has changed in the last year, things that you'll keep?
Yeah, there are actually. I was, on Ted Lasso. No, I was just doing it's a commercial. It was like a little film for a brand, and some of the self-tapes, like it was for a bike brand, and some of the self-tapes I got back, I was just in awe. Like, people had gone out and properly got their bikes out, and they were in the forest and they were doing wheelies and stuff, and really getting into it, and had all the props, and I was just in awe, and I just thought, this is fantastic that people are really making the effort. But then I also thought that maybe also it's part of their sort of therapy, in a way, to just keep themselves busy and active and doing creative, imaginative stuff in this awful climate. And hopefully we're helping each other to just stay creative. And I can watch these fantastic jewels of self-tapes. So there's been silver linings, definitely, because some of the self-tapes are just brilliant. Yeah.
That's great to know. I'm just wondering, just thinking about actors who don't have many friends. Like you mentioned before, that you go to Edinburgh Festival every year generally, and then you go to loads of stand-up, which is everywhere in London. So how else do you find people without many credits? Do you do those showcases from the schools, or is it? Yeah,
I definitely do all that. Trying to do the online ones this year. Again, sad not to be able to go to the theatres. But what I am finding this year, that I'm on Twitter, and so I'm watching. It's really exciting seeing all the people blow up on Twitter. Just people who are posting their little funny little clips, and suddenly they've got 10,000 followers, and just hilarious little skits that they're doing. I think that social media is really, really blowing up right now for that sort of creativity. So that's nice. That is nice as well. So I feel like I'm not completely in the dark as to who is young and up and coming and funny.
And so, I've seen you. I think you did an article for Backstage where you were basically encouraging actors to create their own content and put stuff online so that you can see their content and share their content. Do you have anything to add to that idea?
That is definitely the way to do it. just write something funny, film it, post it, and you could be lucky and loads of people will start liking it, and it could snowball. And YouTube channels and things like that, because that's where if you haven't got a show reel, for example, it's great to be able to look at, if you've got some actors. I'm doing another comedy at the moment, and a lot of the young comics don't have proper show reels, but they're pointing me in the direction of their YouTube channels, and they've got like a whole host of little things they've done. It's great. Yeah,
that is great. And similarly with social media, I put my headphones in. Does that sound better?
Anyway. It's better when you go like that.
All right, I'm going to do this. All right. Yeah. So social media following, obviously it's great that you can find people's content through their social media, and I can see how that is a real bonus for people who don't have a great deal of experience. Anybody can create something. But social media following, is that important? Are producers taking any notice of how many followers people have and stuff like that?
I don't know. I'm not working on the kind of projects that care.
Good.
I don't know. I don't. There may be other sort of type of projects that do take that sort of thing into consideration, but me personally and the projects I'm working on, we're not really looking for that sort of thing.
Great.
Yeah,
that's good to know. So you've been working in film and television for years. Is there a difference in terms of, obviously there's a difference on the casting side, but is there a difference on the auditioning side between auditioning for film and television for different projects?
No, not really.
No.
Not really. No.
Okay,
There's
great.
a difference in the casting process, in that for television, there just seems to be a lot more people that have to say yes. Whereas in film, unless you're on a big studio movie when hundreds of people have to say, yeah, go for it, it's normally just the director who says, yeah, go for it.
And you have worked with so many great directors, and Steven Spielberg, Ron Howard, Kevin MacDonald. I mean, just like this huge list. Ridley Scott, Alejandro Gomez-Rejon, like so many amazing directors. What have you picked up from them along the way? Like when you work with all of these film directors, are there different tidbits that you pick up along the way that just you life lessons that you move forward with?
Yeah, I mean, God, I obviously never met Steven Spielberg, so but I mean, I helped out on a massive movie. But I did actually get to meet Ron Howard, and that was really exciting. And what struck me about him was just his energy and his ease with actors. And I really, really respect that in a director. The energy, you can sometimes you can sit in a room, I'm not naming any names, and the director doesn't give anything, but he really does. He's so supportive. Again, he wants you to be in with a shot to get the job. So, and he's like that with all the actors as well. And that was really great. He's a great man. Really, yeah, just great man. Great presence. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the chat to grab some questions from the actors. And if you have a question and you haven't put it in the chat, please go for it. So let's just have a look. Yeah. Will you go back to all in-person auditions when you can? And do you have any sense of when that might be?
Oh yes, definitely. In fact, I've got in my office, there's an empty office opposite me, and I keep thinking, oh, maybe I'll just sort of splash out and just sort of rent it for a little bit, so I can, instead of having it in a small space, just try and get people in, even if we have to wear masks. I don't know. I think it's all down to what the UK government says, but it sounds like maybe not until the autumn when we're all vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you talked a lot.
Sorry, I was just going to say that, I wouldn't even mind it if I could get a sort of a large space and we have actors come in one door and I come in the other door, and we can get camera. But it's a lot of the actors don't want to, and I totally understand, they don't want to get on transport to get to auditions anymore. So I think we do really have to wait for vaccinations. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned
but the end is in sight. The end is in sight.
Yeah, the end is in sight. Third quarter.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that Juno was in LA and you brought her over for Ted Lasso, that you were able to do that. And several people have questions. Amy Letcher says, if an actor is in LA but does have British citizenship, would you consider them for a role? Now that everything's virtual, online, and they can get a tape to you very easily, would you consider people who don't necessarily live in England?
Only if they're willing to fly themselves over it, because I'm working in London on UK productions. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, my remit with that role of Keeley was a London-based actor, a London-based actor, a London-based actor. And then when suddenly, but Juno Temple, okay, right, we'll ask Apple for some more money. It's that kind of thing. So it just entirely depends on the budget, whether or not we could pay to cover the costs to bring someone over. Yeah.
And Virginia is asking, obviously, we have a lot of American actors here in the Zoom with us today, whether or not you would look at reels or accept reels from US actors, or, maybe even like old general meetings. If an actor sends their reel to you, will you look at it?
If they're an American-based actor? Probably not, if I'm honest, because I'm working. The reason I'm employed on these jobs is because they want someone on the ground in London to find people on the ground in London. The honest truth. Is the honest truth.
No, that makes perfect sense.
I might watch just out of interest. But yeah.
So Sandra is asking, how is Brexit affecting the opportunity for non-UK actors to work on UK projects? I think it's probably affecting UK actors working in Europe, right? I
think it's the other way around. Yeah. We all just have to get visas now. It's just about getting visas. But hang on a minute. We did have to bring it. We brought in a couple of footballers on Ted Lasso, and we just had to get them visas. It's all, do you know what? It's okay. You just have to do just do the paperwork. Just have to do the paperwork. Yeah.
Art. Sorry if I mispronounce any names. Art Shrian is asking, how important is a star name when it comes to casting?
Again, it depends on the project, because most of the time, getting that star name will mean that you'll secure your finance and you're greenlit. So
right.
It just
especially in Mensa performers, but I think maybe he means Menasa. Mensa is the sort of gifted people, so maybe he means Manasa, I'm not sure. But that leads me to sort of the idea of diversity. I think in the UK, casting has been color conscious for a long time. Could you talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion in casting and how you work that into your workflow process?
We always do, and it's good to hear from every production I start on now. One of our first conversations is, Theo, we want a really diverse cast. I'm like, yeah, great, I'm totally on board. You don't need to. You're preaching to the converted, so it's good. It's like it's really it's a really important thing now for everybody across the production. And on every production. So always keeping it diverse wherever possible.
Emma Patterson is asking, if there's a difference between casting comedy and non-comedy roles, and do you pick people for their own personality? Is it really about how they deliver their lines because of their own personality?
It's about whoever's done a really good audition, mainly. But we do want great people on our projects. So it's good to know, that we've got good people doing good auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really resonated when you mentioned it earlier, that it makes so much sense that you wanted to send kind people to the set of Ted Lasso. Yeah. It's just
totally. Yeah.
I don't know if you can put a finger on this, but Claudia Rocafort is saying, what do you think makes an actor stand out in an audition?
Oh, just being good. Being good.
Yeah, just do a great job.
But sometimes also, just doing it in a really different way that everybody else hasn't. Because sometimes, especially if you're doing a big search on something, the auditions can get really samey. And so have a think about a different way of delivering it. So something, maybe read the scene and go, okay, that's the first way I'll do it. And now do it a completely different way and maybe submit that. Because that first way of you doing it will probably be the first way of everybody else doing it. Yeah, maybe that.
I think that's one of those places where, you know, especially with small co-star roles, I think actors always think you want to service the script. Don't come in and do anything crazy or funny or just service the script. And so I think sometimes that can be a trap.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And yeah, and especially on something like, for example, Ted Lasso, when it's all on the page, it might be like funny, funny, funny. But, you know, now we've all watched it, we know heart and soul, funny, but also heart and soul. So it's not a sitcom. It's not a sitcom. There's no sitcom vibe. So you want to be funny, but you don't want to be funny.
All right.
I guess knowing the source material really well is useful.
Yeah.
Knowing really what you're going up for.
Wednesday Ryan is asking specifically about Brett Goldstein, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago, and Nick Mohammed, who both also, you know, bring so much to this. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, was Brett already attached? Because I know he's also a writer producer. So
yeah, he kind of was. He was sort of cast. Well, no, I mean, he had to audition because he was a writer, and then, you know, they were all like, but, you know, Brett Goldstein is so perfect for this Roy Kent part. And so, but he had to, you know, he had to go through the hoops, bless him, but did a fantastic audition and got the part. But Nick Mohammed, that was all from our side. He auditioned. He wasn't going to do it. We had to beg. He sort of passed because he was working on Intelligence, his own show on Sky, and he just finished that, and he would have had like 2 days off, and then he would have gone into the edit, but also then would have had to film with us. And he sort of just parted, because, you know what, I'm going to be too busy. And I kept phoning his agent going, please will he reconsider? Please will he reconsider? Because he's so good. And yeah, obviously he nailed it. And he changed his mind and went for it.
Well done, you. Perseverance all round.
Yeah.
Jill Melanie is asking, does Jason watch audition tape?
He watches every single one, and he has the final say.
Amazing. You talked a little bit before, you know, we saw you say goodbye to one of your office colleagues. Can you tell us how you work? How does it work? How do you work with the people in your office? How do you, you know, divide tasks?
My assistant is working remotely because of COVID. She's working from her flat. We're not, it's sort of, you're still supposed to, as per the government, be working from home where you can. But my office is also just around the corner from my child's nursery. This is too much information, but anyway, that's why I'm in the office, because it's convenient to put dropping my child off. But everyone's working from home. Everyone's still in London working from home. Yeah.
And what was the question? Well, I'm just wondering, do they get submissions? Do they bring ideas to you, casting ideas of actors, or are they administrative?
No, I like to we definitely, I like to, God, it's exhausting coming up with all the ideas. I definitely ask for help there. Yeah.
Great. Emma Patterson is asking, what misconceptions do you think actors sometimes have about what you're looking for?
Misconceptions? I mean, I suppose sometimes I'll get an email going, oh, I hear you're looking for a waitress. And this is what we were talking about before, actually. I hear you're looking for a waitress, and it'll be like, you know, some 25-year-old pretty little thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, actually, I want a 55-year-old Greek woman to play the waitress. So sorry, not quite right. So that, yeah, maybe the stereotype, maybe the misconceptions would be that we're looking for the stereotype, but we're not.
Austin Sullivan says, what would you like to achieve as a casting director now after successfully creating Ted Lasso? Like, what
I didn't create Ted Lasso, but I was just lucky enough to ride on its coattails. But thank you. What would I like to achieve? Actually, I was talking about this to my partner. I think I'd just like to carry on doing really good work, and in comedy, I'd like to do the odd film every now and again, and then just really good comedy with nice, decent people. And that's it, really.
And so then how do you look for those future projects? I mean, it seems like you have always worked on real quality comedies, but how do you look for those? Do you just trust the people that you work with, or are you reading the script to decide whether or not it's something you want to do? How do you choose?
Yeah, you don't really choose. They choose you, funnily enough. And it's probably like being an actor. The jobs choose you in a way. They just come along and you're like, oh, yes, okay, thank you. Because, you know, like, you know, all of you guys, I sometimes sit here and go, oh shit, this job's coming to an end and I don't have another job. I'm never going to work again. What am I going to do? I'm going to work in Sainsbury's. I'm going to have to work in Sainsbury's. And then, you know, a week later, the phone will ring and it's like, oh, remember, you know, thingy from 5 years ago, they've got another project. Oh, great. And so it's like, you know, buses. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question from Claudia is, how often do you cast European actors in the UK? You know, how often are you looking for Spanish, Italian, French?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. God, one of my first jobs with Nina, we did Rush.
Yeah, Daniel Bruhl and Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, amazing, exactly. Amazing movie.
Amazing. And so from really early on, I was taping, like, we had to look for Austrians, Italians, Germans, and it was so exciting just bringing all these people in, like just getting to know all of these nationalities who do live in London. That was great. Yeah, but there always seems to be roles for proper Euros in London, which is really thrilling and exciting. Yeah. And then, I was racking my brains trying to think. We saw this Italian woman who wasn't even properly an actress. She was like the wife of someone. I nearly texted Nina because I was desperate to find out who she was. And she was just so amazing and so unique. And I couldn't remember who she was, but I really need her for a project right now. Yeah. There's always European roles.
How often, this is Amy Letcher, how often do you give redirects in this self-tape world? If an actor makes an interesting choice, but it isn't quite right, do you go back to the agent and ask them to, you know, give notes and ask for another tape?
Definitely. It happened yesterday, actually. This really great young actress, the tape was just not right. It wasn't the right tone, and I wanted to give her another chance. So I'm making her do it again because I know she can do it to how they want it. So yeah, all the time we will.
That's great. And you mentioned earlier how, you know, some writers don't like improv, but you quite like it, and I'm sure it shows you people's chops. There are lots of questions about that, sticking to the script and improv stuff in the chat. And Stuart Green asks specifically, how much improv is done on Ted Lasso? And I wonder if you can talk about, you know, if you're auditioning, is it okay to improv? And then also, like, once people get to set, are you sticking to the script once you're on set?
I think Ted Lasso is not really improvised. But I just finished another job where the director was like, oh, you know, they should totally work around the dialogue and make it funny and I just want to see if they can be funny. So it's probably worth asking either via the casting director, or when you're in the room, well, when we finally get back in the room, just go, you know, are you happy for me to work, you know, do you want me to stick to the lines, or do you want me to work, you know, like chat around them, what, you know, ask if you're not sure. Yeah.
Great. So we have a question from A. Matlock. It's sort of, I think it's a really like marketing. I don't know. Do people still send you packages of headshots or, you know, reels, or you know, do you look at people's websites? None of that. So
I'll look at the websites if I'm sent a link. But yeah, we don't get anything in the post anymore. Gosh, no, never happened.
So would it stand out? You know, if somebody sent you a postcard or something, would that make an impact? Or would it just go straight in the bin?
I don't think I've received any. Actually, nobody has my new office address. So I'd probably fall off my chair if I got a postcard. Yeah, it's all emailed now, isn't it?
Yeah,
which are fine. I don't mind.
Yeah. Janine Justo is asking, is Ted Lasso as popular and well received in the UK as it is in the United States? Because it's huge here.
Yeah, I think it's bigger in America, actually. People love it. I don't know anyone who doesn't like it, but it seems to be more people have seen it in America than here. Yeah.
Okay. Art is asking if you have any tips, Artrian, on voice casting for animation.
I don't, because I've never done that before. I don't. Sorry, I've never cast. Oh no, that's a lie. That is actually a lie, because I cast Paddington.
Oh, Paddington, that classic.
Actually, that's an interesting one, because Ben Whishaw, I mean, that's one of my most favourite performances in anything that I've cast, is the voice of Ben Whishaw as Paddington. And what's really, really interesting about him is that he's like a little creature in the way he speaks. I don't know if you know the story. I mean, I think I'm allowed to say, because it was in the press, that we originally cast Colin Firth as the voice, and then he recorded his dialogue, and then they put it to the finished movie, and it was just off, because you've got this gorgeous little fluffy little gorgeous Paddington, you know, who's very animalistic and weird and wild and sweet, and then you've got Colin Firth's voice, and it just didn't work, and so we recast it as Ben Whishaw. So I don't know if there's a tip in there somewhere, but I suppose you don't get to see the actual animation, do you? So it's difficult. I don't know how you do it. Just be yourself, and
just be brilliant, like Ben Whishaw. Be brilliant.
just be yourself, because they'll have to go with whatever makes sense visually, and there's nothing you can do to change your voice. I mean, you could try in different ways, of course, but I think ultimately they will want to cast the voice most closest to you, the natural voice, won't they?
Yeah.
Oh God, I should stop talking because I have no tips.
No. James Tripp is asking, is there a large pool of American actors who are local in London? Are there a bunch of American actors living in London?
We've got a few. Yeah, getting to know them all. There's some brilliant actors here. Not enough. Come over.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
All right, just trying to make sure, just scroll through, see what else we have.
We're always looking out for, we're always, in every single project I work on, there's always, you know, genuine Americans in London. So hit me up, anyone who's a genuine American in London. I will definitely, if I don't know you already, I would love to know you.
Lovely, making me homesick. Theo, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been such a treat to hear all about Ted Lasso and comedy and all of the stuff you've done. It's been absolutely brilliant. We're going to give you a communal round of applause. Here we go.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us.